So ESPN just went through and named an X factor for the top 25 teams of college football, and I actually think they did a pretty good job in naming Georgia's X factor, and they chose wide receiver Colby Young, the former transfer from Miami, the senior player that played a few games for Georgia last year. Looked like he was going to be a big part of the offense, then gets suspended for off the field issues, so he only plays a handful of games. Well, he's going to be back for Georgia. I think they did a good job in naming him as an X Factor. We'll talk about why he is an X Factor, but I also want to list out some other potential, like if you had to name just one X Factor for Georgia, like this is it. I think it could be a player. I think it could be a quality. I don't think it has to be a player. I think it could be a thing. I think it could be a quality of a player. But there are a few other things that I want to talk about that I think are just X Factor pieces for the Dogs this coming season. While I do think Colby Young, you could argue he's the best pick for this type of conversation. And there are some reasons behind that. Like I said, we're going to get to that earlier in the video. But there are a few things with this Georgia, and this is more specifically on offense. We'll talk about defense a little bit too, but more specifically on offense. But I think Colby Young is a good starting point. I think that there's just more to Georgia than meets the eye from the casual observer. There's just more going on inside the building right now. So let's get into all of what I just said, starting with Colby Young. Ryan Curley from Dawg Post. X Factors. Does Georgia have more than one of them? Is Colby Young the X Factor? I don't have a creative way to blend that into asking you to check out dogpost.com. Make sure you're going to the website, seeing all the content that Matt, Dean, and myself are putting out there. Video, you can stick with us on this channel. If you found us here, you know you can find us here again. We're pretty much everywhere. Just search up Dawg Post, DAWG Post. Colby Young. Big body target, 6'3", 6'4", over 200 pounds. 50-50 ball guy, jump ball type of guy, scored in the opening game against the Clemson Tigers last year, and you thought, hey, he's going to be a part of this. In his, limited action for Georgia last year, he finishes the season with 11 catches for 149 yards and 2 touchdowns. He had another touchdown, I think, later on against Tennessee Tech. I believe it was against Tennessee Tech. But Young, why does he fit the bill for X Factor? Here's why. Well, he was a little bit of a mystery until early in the offseason. Off the field issues, domestic issues. He ends up getting cleared of that. You don't know, is he going to return to Georgia, right? So he's kind of a new piece for Georgia, a new/old piece for Georgia this coming year. The wide receiver room obviously needed a do-over, needed kind of a rework. When you lead the country in drops, you lose a couple guys to the NFL, guys that were productive but also had those drop issues, right? Carson Beck needed different targets. Well, they don't have Carson Beck anymore. It's going to be Gunnar Stockton. And then they find out early in the offseason, well, Colby Young is going to return. And that's in addition to bringing in Zachariah Branch in the transfer portal, recruiting Noah Thomas out of the transfer portal, who many thought Noah Thomas was a replacement for what Colby Young was supposed to be for this Georgia offense in 2024, but he wasn't because he didn't play. Well, now they've got both of them. You find out after that, hey, Colby Young is going to play. Kirby says that he is cleared and he is with the program. So he's this extra addition. He's this addition that wasn't at the forefront of people's minds when thinking about Georgia this season. So now they've got him and Noah Thomas. They've got 2 6'3" to 6'5" big body type receivers that they can put on the outside to win one-on-one battles, to win 50-50 balls, to win on fade routes, to win on the sideline. That's what they've got now. I think in the sample size that we saw of Colby Young, he was good, right? Obviously, he wasn't like an elite receiver. We're talking about in about 5 games, 6 games, he had the number. So it wasn't like he was producing at this super high level, but he does bring an element to the offense that is hard to replicate, and it's hard to replicate that size and the hands and the big play catch ability that he has. So I think that he is an important cog in the machine that is Georgia's offense this coming season. I think for Gunnar Stockton, having those big body experienced receivers who have been around and have played a good bit of college football, I just think that that's going to matter a lot. I think ESPN did a pretty good job with naming their X factors. They named all sorts of different ones. Like for Penn State, they put Drew Aller's big game performances. For Clemson, they put their run defense. For Texas, they put middle of the defensive line. For Ohio State, they put their tight end. For LSU, they put Garrett Nussmeier. So this kind of was all over the place. So now I think it's time to flip the script. I do think Kobe Young's a good X factor. I think that they did a really good job with that. What are some other X factors? Things that are elements of this Georgia team that are going to give them an edge, give them an advantage. One X factor I think is worth discussing is Gunnar Stockton's dual threat ability. I think it's going to help enhance Georgia's run game. I think that it will give Mike Bobo in this offense an opportunity to call plays that are maybe a little bit more creative than they were with Carson Beck, who was a bit more of a traditional pocket passer over the last 2 seasons. Gunnar Stockton is not Lamar Jackson. He's not Lenore Sellers or Marcel Reed or some of the other dual-threat quarterbacks in this conference who have this blazing speed or really electrifying athleticism. He's not that. He's a solid runner. He's a hard-nosed runner. He's a crafty runner. And that's what you get out of Gunnar Stockton. You saw it for the most part, you saw that in the second half of the SEC championship game against Texas. You saw them use QB draws. You saw them use read options. You saw them scramble a couple times. That's how they're going to use Gunnar. It's not going to be like 15 carries a game from Gunnar Stockton like you might get out of a real dual threat quarterback. But that ability, I think, is going to change the pace of Georgia offense. It's going to get them out of some jams, right? With Stetson Bennett, I think his legs got them out of some offensive jams. I think that Gunnar Stockton's legs and Georgia having a dual-threat quarterback again is an X factor in and of itself. Another X factor I want to talk about is kind of a similar one to Kobe Young in the sense that they just didn't have him last year, but he's not a new addition. This is not a wide receiver. It's a running back. It's Roderick Robinson, right? Over 6 feet, 230, 240 pounds, power running back. Wasn't available. Dealt with injuries throughout the season last year. Had 4 touches in 2024. He just didn't play. If he's healthy, and he looks healthy based off the videos I've seen on social media, he adds another element to this run game that changes things for Georgia. Nate Frazier should get the most touches. I think that he's the true RB1. They brought in Josh McCray partially because of injury history with Roderick Robinson and the other power backs for this Georgia offense. Josh McCray is a power back that I think they brought in to have touches and as an emergency. But if Roderick Robinson is healthy, there's no reason why he shouldn't get on the field too. A guy that's been in the program for a couple of years now, a bruiser. I think he has big play ability than people realize and probably a little bit better speed than people realize. All of a sudden, if he looks good, we're talking about a Georgia running back room that looks completely transformed from a year ago. So I think in a similar light to Kobe Young, where they just didn't have him a year ago, but he's not a new addition, I think that Roderick Robinson also fits that bill as an X factor. So right now, I think the first 2 X factors that I think about other than Kobe Young, I think about Roderick Robinson, and I think about Gunnar Stockton's legs. Now, I'm going to mention a couple receivers to round this out. Because I think defensively, it's going to be a little bit more cut and dry. An X factor would be like an Ella Modozi, who is just a pass rush freak, right? I think that that's what you look for in a defensive X factor. But sticking to offense and sticking to the wide receiver room, there's a trio of wide receivers who I think any one of them can be a real contributor and be a bigger contributor than what people realize. Dylan Bell, Noah Thomas, Zachariah Branch, and Kobe Young are the projected starters. That next layer of receivers, London Humphreys, Sokovie White, and Jeremy Bell, maybe all of them are X factors, but one of them is going to contribute in a bigger way than people realize. I'm just not sure which one. Jeremy Bell, athletic freak, showed out at G-Day. Sokovie White, year 2 with Georgia, year 2 in college football. He was crafty. He showed his ability to make contested catches and make big play types of catches at G-Day. And then London Humphreys, 6'3", speedster, who showed out early in his Georgia career in year 2 for college football for him, and now he's in year 2 with Georgia. I think any of those 3, if not all of those 3, are going to get on the field and make a little bit of an impact. This Georgia wide receiver room is deeper. This offense is exciting when you're looking at it at this point in the offseason. I think that all of those things are just elements of Georgia's game that are not necessarily quite obvious, like a Zachariah Branch or a Dylan Bell or a Nate Frazier. but they certainly can be X factors for the Georgia Bulldogs this offseason. I thought ESPN did a good job, but I wanted to add my wrinkle to it as well. Appreciate you watching. Appreciate you going to dogpost.com, and we'll see you in the next video.